And good Tuesday/Thursday morning. This is episode 26/27 of the Inside Drive podcast. Happy to have Coach Bradley Stanford back in studio with us. We're going to be talking a little bit about the coaching carousel that is college football, maybe predicting some of the teams that may fall out of the top 4, maybe even the top 12 in the college football playoff rankings that are going to be released later on today. But first, attention golfers who want to improve their score. Golf Plus is the place to be in Bay County. With all the tools and expertise to help you. Golf Plus has been featured in both Golf and Golf Digest magazine as some of the top club fitters in the country, and they certainly deserve it. Their fitting studio will blow you away with the selection of brands and models of clubs and shafts. The putting green is filled with all the latest and greatest brands you could want. And of course, the repair shop is second to none. One of the best in the Southeast, and fast too. Renovations are continuing to go on in Golf Plus. New floor, new sim bay, all sorts of new stuff. They just got a bunch of really, really cool custom head covers and different putter covers and all sorts of really cool, unique NFL, college, and even some different dog breed head covers for you. You need to go check that out ASAP. They got some of their holiday sales going on as we speak. 25% off all in-stock junior clubs and 20% off all in-stock golf shoes. There'll be some more holiday sales coming up soon as well. You can give them a call at 850-249-2726 or check them out online at golfplusretail.com. Golfplusretail.com is also where you can go to book your sim bay time or a club fitting or whatever you need from Golf Plus. They are located in the shops at Edgewater next to Firefly. All of my sponsors seem to be right there in the shops at Edgewater, including American Charlie's and Firefly. And of course, Panhandle Credit Union, the quality relationships they have with our community is what Panhandle Credit Union is all about. Whether it is sponsoring an event, donating to a cause, providing loan options, or setting people up with great banking products, Panhandle Credit Union is here to serve those who live, work, worship, or attend school right here in Bay and other surrounding counties. Together, Panhandle Credit Union builds community. Visit panhandlecu.org or swing by any location to join. Like I mentioned, we've got Coach Stanford in studio with us. He's the owner-operator of Clutch Athletics. Just real quick, Coach, remind everybody what Clutch Athletics is all about. You don't have to go through the whole kit and caboodle, but just the high-level stuff.
Yeah, just youth strength and agility program located physically here in Panama City. We do have online option as well, online classes. And right now with code HOLIDAY, you can sign up for a free month of our online course.
Sweet. Got to do that. Code HOLIDAY, everybody. That's a nice little perk you're giving everybody.
Yeah, a little Black Friday thing going through the end of the year, though. So
there you go.
Christmas present, get your kid active, get them moving.
And that whole Black Friday thing, I feel like we started, is there actually going to be any sales on Black Friday? Because every corporation or business seems to be doing Black Friday sales as early as November 1st.
Oh, yeah.
Do want to mention our American Charlie Athlete of the Week. That is point guard Aubree Davis. She is on the University Academy girls basketball team, who is now 4-0, trying to go 5-0 this evening. Last week in the big game against Mowat, which was a blast, the gym was packed out. It was a whiteout. The students really embraced it. The boys soccer team was able to end practice early to come watch the second half. But Aubree kind of led the team, 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 steals. A little double-double there for Aubree Davis. Doesn't happen too often in middle school sports. I want to give her a big shout-out. Looking forward to watching the girls play again tonight on 8th grade night, which is kind of crazy that this is our second 8th grade night for Ryan. We'll have probably 2 more coming up with soccer and track. But yeah, if you're a fan of middle school sports, get out and watch some of these girls basketball teams, the boys soccer teams. Those are the 2 sports going on right now. Also want to dive into some of the, our last show was last Thursday. Want to dive into some of the score updates from the high schools. Obviously, y'all probably know because we shared it on our page as well. Mosley got the tight dub, 33-30 over Lincoln. First, Lincoln throws a wide receiver screen that ends up being a wide receiver pass that ends up going for a touchdown. And then later in the game, the bag of tricks come out from Tommy Joe Witten to take the lead. They ran a little jet sweep, handed it off. The wide receiver stopped. J.P. Holstenbach rolled out into the end zone, threw the touchdown pass for them to go up at that point. And I believe they got the 2-point conversion as well at that point to go up 33-30. And then the defense was able to hold. So Mosley moves on to the second round of the playoffs. I know they got to go all the way to, I believe it's Bayside or East Side, something like that. It's all the way down there in Daytona. I'll find that here when we preview the games coming up this week. Mosley fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, was the only playoff team that got the dub in their game. We'll talk about these other ones here in a second. Also on girls soccer, the Arnold girls team is 4-1-1 now after a 10-2 victory over Mariana. Arnold girls soccer team is off to a great start this season. Emma Krelling, who's a UA Sports alum as well, she's been playing great in goal. She's kind of dual sports right now, playing basketball and soccer, but the goalie for the Arnold Marlins. And then on Friday, you had some more girls soccer. Freeport beat Bozeman 5-0. Wolfson beat North Bay Academy 2-1. Arnold in boys soccer got their third win of the season in their quest to go back-to-back state champions. They're off to a good start now, 3-0 on the young season with a 1-0 victory last Friday against Wakulla. Freeport in boys soccer beat Bozeman 4-0. South Walton in varsity football, another team not in Bay County but in our area that moves on to the second round of the playoffs after their 42-3 victory over Freeport. And then back to boys soccer, Crestfield and Mosley tied 1-1. And then St. Augustine, we knew it was going to be a tough task for the Marlins. St. Augustine got the best of the Marlins, 70-21. But that 21 points was pretty impressive for the Marlins to hang on such a powerhouse team over there in St. Augustine. Then you also had Bay and Godby in a shootout that kind of came down to late in that game. Godby got the edge on Bay, 56-43. And then yesterday we had some other soccer scores. Boys soccer, Wakulla beat Bay 2-0. In girls soccer, Lincoln beat Arnold 2-0. Then you've got some games coming up tonight. Port St. Joe and Bay in girls soccer. Bozeman and Mariana in girls soccer. Mosley and Palm Bay Prep Academy in boys soccer. South Walton and Mosley in boys soccer. Arnold and Childs in boys soccer. So Arnold's trying to get another dub to go 4-0. And then Mariana and Bozeman in boys soccer as well. Kind of excited to follow along that Arnold boys soccer team again. And then, of course, the Mosley girls soccer team is off to a good start as well. Pretty much a star-studded former UA soccer player team over there. Coach, let's talk some high school football. I got some questions for you before we dive into the coaching stuff. What stands in the way of Ohio State going back-to-back national champions this year?
Oh, I think really just being tested for the first time and what is going to happen when they get tested the first time.
How are they going to react to
really
that adversity?
had some smooth sailing. Not to say that they haven't earned that smooth sailing. Julian Satan's playing out of his mind. He's playing amazing, but they really haven't faced that tough game, someone punch him in the mouth, and how are they going to respond?
He hasn't hasn't had to be the guy yet to lead the team back down the field.
Correct.
When they're down in that football game. And that's going to happen at some point, whether it's, against Michigan, because Michigan's obviously had their number the last several years, or is it in the championship, the Big Ten championship, or is it in the first round of the playoffs? Or they probably wouldn't be in the first round because they'd have the bye at least.
Yeah.
But that's a great point. They haven't faced that kind of adversity yet. And a young quarterback like Julian saying, he's playing absolutely fantastic. Kid looks great. He's making good decisions, got a great arm, and he's got some nice scrambling ability as well. But once you get tested when you're down in a game, that's when you really see what they've got. So we'll see if that happens. Let's see if Michigan can kind of put that pressure on them, because I think they're 0-3 in the last 3 years is just 0-2.
It might be 0-3, or they might have won 2 out of 3. I'm not sure, but I know that Ohio State has walked in with the better team and walked out with a loss. Quite a few times in the past few years. So that game is, you never know. I will say that I think the best case scenario is if they get tested against Michigan or in the Big Ten championship game, because they're still going to make the playoffs. So if they could get tested before it's the playoffs, if they're able to cruise through Michigan and, Indiana's looking good, but cruise through the Big Ten championship game as well, I think that would be the best case scenario for other playoff teams. For the first time they get tested to be in the playoffs, might be that best case scenario for other playoff teams.
I'm going to look up real quick who they would have to play in the Big Ten championship, because I don't know if is Indiana in their same side of the conference, or did they get rid of the
I think
divisions?
They also got rid of the divisions.
Okay.
It might have just been the SEC that did, but I think they did as well. because they won't play each other.
Yeah,
in the
they
regular
did.
Season.
Yeah, because right now, yeah, it would be the Hoosiers and the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
And technically, Indiana's played one more game so far. So Ohio State may have a bye this week. But yeah, it would be Indiana. They also got rid of them. I couldn't remember if it was multiple conferences or just the SEC.
Yeah.
So as of now, it would be a powerhouse matchup between Indiana and Ohio State. Little 1 versus 2 right there in the Big Ten. Pivoting conferences to the SEC, is there an elite team in the SEC? Obviously, Texas A&M was the undefeated team, still the undefeated team, but South Carolina gave them everything they could want. Talk about a flip at halftime.
Absolutely.
One team just absolutely dominating. That's why sometimes if you're the team dominating, you almost don't even want to have a halftime because the other team goes in, makes adjustments, and all it takes is that team to score once, and then you just feel this big, massive turn of momentum.
Yeah.
So that was certainly the case in the A&M South Carolina game. But besides, obviously, Bama went down as well this week, to Oklahoma, who's a good team. Mateer's had a great season when he was healthy. But is there truly an elite team in the SEC this year?
I don't think there's like anyone that's head and shoulders above, kind of like, the Big Ten has those two teams.
Yep.
But I do think, and what I was talking about with Ohio State, I think the fact that week in and week out, you're getting tested and you're having to, kind of trudge through it is going to be beneficial once these SEC teams get into the playoffs. Finding ways to win, having to come back, having to fight 4 quarters, I think is going to prove beneficial once we get into the playoffs.
Absolutely. And, one of your favorite teams, Georgia, they've been down every first half. It feels like in every SEC game they've played this season, but they found a way to come back and win all those games, the majority of them anyway, not Alabama. But so you think that gives them a little bit of an edge when it comes to, moving into the playoffs, kind of like what you just said. That team has been down in so many games, even going into the fourth quarter, but yet they still find these crazy ways to win football games.
Speaking of not wanting halftimes to happen.
Yep.
The best halftime adjustment coach in the nation is probably Kirby Smart.
And that's probably why they've come back in so many of these games.
Oh, yeah.
Simply changing their game plan or strategies to make it, to adjust to come back and win those games.
Yeah, I guess, they've been kind of dubbed or I think maybe even Kirby dubbed them the cardiac kids or something because they're going to give them a heart attack every game. And they're living up to that name, but I think it's going to definitely help them as they continue to go throughout the year and into the playoffs and play those 4-quarter games that other teams might have not played even one 4-quarter game all year.
And it kind of gets back to your point with the perseverance and all that stuff. They've got probably more perseverance and resilience than any team in the SEC, in my opinion. We'll see how that all shakes out as we get ever so closer to the playoffs. Right around the corner, only 2 more weeks in the regular season. Then we got championship weekend. Hard to believe we're almost already to rivalry weekend.
Yeah.
SEC right now would be A&M and Georgia in the SEC championship, obviously pending more games there. Question for you. One Power 4 team is going to get into the playoffs. I talked about this a few weeks ago. At the time, it was South Florida, James Madison, North Texas, and Tulane. Well, South Florida just lost to Navy, so I'm going to swap South Florida and Navy. Which team would you, want to be in there or think will get in there with that? I guess I'm assuming it'll be the number 12 spot in there because last year they had that conference championship that kind of messed everything up for the good games anyway.
I think they're JMU and maybe is it North Texas? There's like 2 of them that are like 9-2, and the rest of them have kind of beat each other up a little bit. And my guess is going to be JMU.
That's the team I would like to see in there. Because they've won. I mean, and this is a rule that I hate. Is they were in FCS and then they recently transferred to the Sun Belt FBS, and they were so dominant in those first. I think this is their 3rd or might be their 4th year, but they were. You get when you move up when you change to the FBS from the FCS, you have to sit out.
That's right.
Multiple years from playoff opportunity. That seems like it's backwards. I feel like if you go up, you should
Yeah.
be able to immediately, if you can compete, you can compete. So they're living up to what they were doing the last few years. They're 7-0 in the conference, 9-1 on the season, and they probably play Southern Miss in the Sun Belt Conference Championship as of right now. Anyway, Coastal Carolina is kind of chomping right behind their heels at 5-2 in the conference, at least putting a little bit of pressure on them there. But JMU's got such a good team. They got great coaching. That's the team I would think and would like to see as well in there. But yeah, I think North Texas and Navy's independent, right?
Yes.
Okay, because if it was North Texas and South Florida, they're both in the same conference. So I think that might have eliminated them a little bit. But yeah, I could take Navy in there as well too. It's just I think JMU would have a better shot beating that number 5 seed than Navy, North Texas, or Tulane.
I think so. Yeah. Wasn't it JMU's first year when, like you're saying, they weren't eligible, that they went undefeated?
Yep, they
Yeah.
did.
And,
They did.
and then weren't eligible. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
That snuck Coastal Carolina into the Sun Belt Championship, and then Troy absolutely waxed them in that game because Coastal really didn't belong in that game. Again, in my opinion, I think it's backwards. If you move up, you should be able to play immediately.
100%.
Now, if you move down, which I don't think a team would ever move down, maybe
Yeah.
in the future
Financially,
if they do relegation
could be
and stuff
happening.
like that, then you should have to sit out a couple
Yeah,
seasons
because
from playoff.
Usually it doesn't happen like that. I know Kennesaw State just kind of made that jump a couple years back, and they were doing really well in
Yep.
that FCS level, and then they hit roadblocks, and now they're doing pretty well this year, and it's the second, third year maybe in the FBS. Speaking of old UA students, Isaac Paul
Yep.
crushing it for Kennesaw State.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Who's the next coach to be fired, in your opinion?
Oh man.
I know it's a tough one.
I know I said this last time I was on about Auburn and they pulled the trigger,
Yep.
but I just
you can't
don't.
lose to Kentucky.
I
scoring
don't
3
know
points.
that do you hold on right now because the coaching carousel is so crazy and the dominoes are just, you look at everyone's open coaching position and it's the same 3 candidates that everyone wants.
Yep.
It's like, do you bite the bullet and maybe you have kind of the pick of the litter next year, or do you say, we can't hold on for that because of transfer portal, because of, all these things, we're going to get set back even further. Is it Kentucky? Is it South Carolina? I almost feel like that South Carolina Texas A&M game, it's like the tale of two halves, to where he was saving his job, but almost like maybe
lost
even
it,
dug his own grave by 0 halftime adjustments and then just getting throttled in that second half when it actually matters. Did that kind of put the nail in the coffin for him? But Beamer has the saving grace of he's been really successful against Clemson.
Yep.
And if he can beat Clemson again, I think that he's another year safe.
Does Dabo lose his job if he loses to South Carolina? Because I think they've got 4 losses so far this season,
that might be
which is unheard of at Clemson.
That might be a lose that game, lose your job kind of game for both of them. Honestly,
Let me see where they're at.
Which is so crazy because right when Virginia Tech fired their coach, the big thing was, is Shane Beamer going to go over there and kind of follow in Dad's footsteps? And now they fired James Franklin, and South Carolina's kind of taking a turn for the worse.
Yep.
So I don't even think they would want that anyway. But yeah, that game right there might be lose and go home for the coach.
Yeah, Clemson being 4-4 this late in the season is pretty hard to believe.
Yeah.
And I'd be willing to bet that if they lose to South Carolina, that and what a huge firing that would be. And maybe some of these teams, can see that writing on the wall and maybe holding out for Dabo as well, because I think he'd be a great hire at any of these places. And as you mentioned, there are going to be a lot of current openings right now: LSU, Penn State, Florida, Auburn, UCLA, Virginia Tech, which has been filled by James Franklin, Oklahoma State, Arkansas. And then we were talking about it. We'll dive into it a little bit more now here. Ole Miss has kind of done something, in our opinion, a little silly, and they've given Lane Kiffin an ultimatum. Ole Miss's Lane Kiffin is obviously the hottest head coach on the market. He hinted at staying at Oxford on Saturday, but Monday he took a flight to visit LSU. LSU is reportedly ready to make him the highest paid college football coach in history, and that would certainly be a lot. Meanwhile, Ole Miss is not happy. They reportedly told Lane that he has until the Egg Bowl to make a decision whether to stay or go. What are your thoughts on that, Coach?
Yeah, so I don't believe that Lane Kiffin was on either one of those flights. The family flew to Gainesville on Sunday, and then the family flew to Baton Rouge on Monday. But I understand Ole Miss's perspective in saying, "Hey, we need to have a decision by this date, so we know to go further with a coaching search, so we can start getting things ready for transfer portal signing day and try to get dominoes to fall." I don't remotely understand the aspect of, if you are going to leave, just leave and don't finish out the year. I mean, Ole Miss is a program that hasn't. They have a co-national championship to their name from 1960. Like, they're not a program that sees this type
65
of,
years ago.
Yeah. Um,
They haven't really been successful until Lane Kiffin got
right,
there.
without Lane Kiffin. And so, like, I just don't know why you don't do a victory lap, why you don't say, I mean, listen, if he's coming to Florida, that makes it better for us. Like, to get him on campuses, sooner rather than later. But from an Ole Miss perspective, I don't understand why you would kick him out the door and not say, let's go out with a bang. Let's put everything we got into this playoff run, and then we'll say thank you to you after the year. I mean, that what he's done for Ole Miss is incredible, and I don't know where the high horse that these Ole Miss boosters, fans, media are getting on, thinking that Ole Miss is at a tier that these other schools are at because Lane Kiffin has got them to this playoff spot. Like, without Lane, they're not relevant.
I mean, and you've got, this is a little outlandish, but you've got a legitimate shot of winning a couple playoff games this year. And, they're not the best team, in the country by any means, but they can compete with a lot of these teams. So like you said, why would you get rid of why would you give your head coach an ultimatum to either stay or go before you get to that potential run? Yeah. It just seems really stupid. And maybe there's some Oxford folk out there that can, chime in and let us know on Facebook why they've given this ultimatum. So the plane flights were just the families traveling over to Gainesville and LSU, probably maybe taking a look at the area for them to get familiar.
Schools, for
all that stuff you would
kids,
do when you were taking a job somewhere else, regardless of what position it may be. What do you think? Do you think he's going to, give them the ultimatum whether he stays or goes? And what decision do you think he's going to make?
Yeah, so I really don't think that LSU is really in the picture. I think the LSU trip is more of, I think both trips we're seeing where we don't want to be kind of thing. Not really like seeing where we want to be, but like, seeing what we don't want.
Yep.
And I really have thought this whole time it was between Ole Miss and Florida, with, maybe a bias, but a slight nod, maybe 60-40 towards Florida, is what he was kind of leaning towards with, his reverence to Spurrier, his, just his history in the state of Florida and in Gainesville itself. But I think with the moves that LSU has done, especially if what is being reported is true, that they not only gave him the ultimatum, because like I said, I think the ultimatum is fine as far as tell us what you're doing, but then if they have told him, and if you're leaving, get out, to me, I think that is backfiring on them. I think if it was 60-40 before that, it might be 80-20 now.
Simply because, you don't want me anymore, or you want me, but you're not willing to, work with me a little bit through the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of would make you feel like you're not wanted as much, I guess.
It's sounding a little bit like a crazy girlfriend kind of thing, like
it's either me or him, and if it's him, get the hell out of here now.
Yeah,
that's definitely what it feels like for sure.
So I think that might have burned them, might have backfired a little bit more, in the opposite direction they wanted. My thoughts are probably Sunday after the Egg Bowl, he has a press conference, announces that he's coming to Florida. Like I said, I would love for this to be true, and the fact that Ole Miss is telling him then he's done. because that way he can get to Florida sooner and start recruiting, and National Signing Day is coming up and all the things. But I would be completely fine if he made that statement, made that announcement on the Sunday after the Egg Bowl, and then coaches the rest of the season out, makes a playoff run, gains that experience before he comes to Florida, and also with the transfer portal and all the things that happen now in college football, we could end up with a lot of those players that now have playoff experience too.
Absolutely.
So,
you could see a bunch of people coming.
Yeah.
And, Lane's done so well with quarterbacks over the year. Maybe he could, obviously DJ has had I would say an up and down start to his college football career. Maybe Lane is the guy that can really bring him to that next level. Who knows?
Yeah, I would be perfectly fine with seeing DJ Lagway in a Gator uniform again next year. I don't know if it's the best decision for DJ Lagway.
Gotcha.
I think it would be a great decision for Florida to keep him and to work with him. I think that his injury throughout the whole offseason and then just lack of good developmental coaching, I think both of those, and you can kind of teeter-totter on which one was more, detrimental. But I think both of those have caused, him to kind of regress even a little bit. But I definitely think that Lane could definitely work with him and get him better. I do believe that Tramel Jones, which is our freshman backup, was heavily recruited by Lane.
Gotcha. So he's very familiar already.
Yeah, and then, like I said, transfer portal, I definitely think he will bring in at least one quarterback, if not from Ole Miss roster, finding another Chambliss like he found, this year, who's lighting it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of things will be figured out here over the next month or so. But, you think even if he makes the decision to go, they let him play out through the rest of the season? Or if he goes, he's done coaching Ole Miss this season? I can't really tell what their exact thing is, what they're trying to say there. Obviously, if he goes, they don't want him to be the coach anymore, but do you think they cut him loose right then?
Yeah, in this day and age, it's hard to figure out what stories are true and what are not true and what are embellished.
No doubt.
It just doesn't make sense to me that they would say that. So if that is a true story that is from, a higher up, a booster that, his money talks, or, someone in the administrative, offices, I don't understand it, but I'd be glad for it.
Yeah.
Get him on our campus sooner.
No doubt. That would be, certainly great for Florida if he can do as good of a job there. I mean, there's always some question marks when you change your scenery, change your culture, all that stuff.
Sure.
You never know if it's really going to pan out. And we've seen a lot of coaching changes not pan out over the last 3 or 4 years, because I think that window for success is so much shorter than it ever used to be. Not a ton of crazy games this weekend. There's probably the best game of the weekend slate, because this is the week where a lot of SEC teams play, for lack of a better term, lesser opponent, paying some money to some of these other schools. But USC will play Oregon. I think that's a good game for the Big Ten, because obviously Oregon's trying to make that playoff push, and USC's kind of right there on the bubble, so to speak. But if they can beat Oregon, that would go a long way. Both teams are 6-1 in the conference. Oregon ranked number 8, USC ranked number 17, and USC being Southern Cal, not South Carolina. Some football fantasy news. Jamar Chase has been suspended 1 game for spitting on, I forget the Jalen Ramsey, and it's actually going to cost him a lot of money by missing that game. Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase has been suspended without pay for 1 game, and when you have that type of contract that Jamar Chase has, that's a lot of money he'll be missing out on for an act of unsportsmanlike conduct during Sunday's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. During the fourth quarter, Chase spit on Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback Jalen Ramsey, violating Rule 12, Section 3, Article 1, which implies any act which is contrary to the general understood principles of sportsmanship. Chase will be eligible to return to the Bengals active roster on Monday, November 24th, following the team's November 23rd game against the New England Patriots, which they would really need him for that game against the Patriots. Yeah. Under the collective bargaining agreement, Chase may appeal the suspension. Any appeal would be heard and decided upon by Derek Brooks, Raymond Foster, or Jordy Nelson. They're the hearing officers jointly appointed and compensated by the NFL and NFLPA to decide on appeals of on-field discipline. I don't see how that gets appealed, or I don't see how that gets overturned.
No.
He clearly, spit on Ramsey's face. And the spitting thing is just, that's never good in any sport. That's just, there's no place for that.
No, but did you see where he lied about it in the locker room twice to the media?
I didn't see
like,
that.
oh yeah, like stood on it. Like, no, I would never do that. Like, it's 2025.
Like the Kirby Smart clap timeout?
Yeah, 100%. It's 2025. Cameras are everywhere, especially if you're on a National Football League field. Like, you're being filmed. Like,
that's even worse. I didn't know he lied about it twice to the media.
He said it, and then they reiterated and asked him again, like, just to be sure you did not spit on him. He said no.
That's like a kid at the principal's office
100%.
given the opportunity to fess up. If you fess up, usually it's not as bad.
Like, if you're a random person out in Pier Park, just go ahead and assume you're being filmed. If you're Jamar Chase on the middle of an NFL football field, you're being filmed.
1,000%.
Like, come on.
Yep. All right, we're going to do we will not have a live show on Thursday. I've got to go down to Tampa and meet some doctors. So this show is going to be re-aired on Thursday. So if there's some things that just don't make sense, just remember this is a Tuesday-Thursday combo show. So I'm going to do some crazy stories because of that. This one is a very interesting one. Irish midget accused of posing as a leprechaun to extort sex from 26 women in exchange for pot of gold. The 3 foot 4 inches tall Irishman was arrested this morning for allegedly taking advantage of credulous women by joining. It's very small print. By posing as a leprechaun and extorting sexual favors in exchange for a fictional pot of gold hidden at the end of a rainbow. I feel like the women should be arrested too for believing that guy.
I'm trying to figure out what the crime was.
Extortion, I guess.
Extortion.
Lack of actual money being paid.
Oh, like he was going to give them an actual pot of gold.
He was actually going to give them the pot of gold, and they believed the pot of gold.
Fair.
So that is interesting.
And then they couldn't actually find the end of the rainbow.
Yep, because I don't really think that exists, because somebody would have found it by now if that was the case. All right, let me find some other ones here real quick. I talked about a gym teacher last week that made 1,516 3-pointers in 1 hour. This is kind of along the lines of that. 374 bagpipers to play AC/DC song together to break the world record.
Nice.
Let's see where it is. An event in Australia saw an ensemble of 374 bagpipers playing It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll by AC/DC, breaking the world record in the process. The Great Melbourne Bagpipe Bash in Victoria gathered 374 players to perform the song at Federation Square, just a few blocks from where the music video for the Australian rock band's original version filmed in 1976. So that's pretty cool, kind of full circle event there. That'd be pretty loud having that many bagpipes going at once. They had some bagpipes playing for the commissioning of the USS Pure.
So it's an acquired taste, the bagpipes.
Certainly an acquired take.
That many of them at one time.
Amazing Grace, those played on a bagpipe. That'll give you chills every time.
Oh yeah, there's some people that can absolutely nail it. So it's like an organ. It's the same thing. Like It's an acquired taste unless you got someone who's actually playing it.
Beautiful sound for sure. Beautiful sound for sure. This is kind of just a lot of these I like to do kind of fun facts as well. Humans are born with just 2 innate fears: loud noises and falling. These are hardwired responses to help survive in the early life. The fear of falling was famously shown in the 1960 visual cliff experiment, where babies hesitated to crawl over the glass surface that looked like a drop. The fear of loud sounds shows up even earlier, triggering a startle reflex in newborns. All the other fears, spiders, darkness, public speaking, are learned through experience, culture, and observation. The Little Albert experiment showed how easily fear can be conditioned when harmless objects are paired with something frightening. Over time, our environment and upbringing shape the fears we carry. So if you have young kids, don't show them or don't get them around anything that could be fearful, and then you can keep them from being fearful, except noises and falling, which makes sense because we dream a lot of, we're falling and, it just keeps going and keeps going. This is another science one. In 1988, a man with severe OCD shot himself, and the bullet accidentally damaged the brain region linked to his condition, curing him completely. The disclaimer of this story is don't try that if you have OCD. The incident is real and widely reported medical case. The incident is real and widely reported medical case involving a man named George, that's a pseudonym for his real name, who in 1988 attempted suicide due to severe obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. According to a 1999 case study published in the Journal of Archives of General Psychiatry, the man shot himself in the head but miraculously survived. The bullet damaged the left frontal lobe, particularly in the orbitofrontal cortex and base ganglia region, areas commonly associated with OCD symptoms. Following recovery, the patient experienced a near complete remission of the OCD symptoms and no reported relapse years later. The unintentional neurosurgery sparked interest among neuroscientists because its echoed effects in early lobotomy procedures and modern deep brain stimulation or lesioning theories used for treatment-resistant OCD. While the incident was real and documented, it is extremely rare and not recommended or replicate this treatment approach. The outcome was medically fascinating, but purely accidental and extremely dangerous. That's some God intervention right there, if I've ever seen it.
I mean, but if you think about some of the ancient medical surgeries and ways that they tried to fix things,
absolutely,
it's got to be just as good as some of them.
Yeah, like shock therapy and all that stuff,
and all of the different, like sticking spikes into you and like all this different stuff, like for medical reasons.
There's some documentaries out there with some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Here's one out of the University of Florida, some research stuff. Robot bunnies are being deployed in Florida to fight invasive pythons. Florida is using robots to fight invasive pythons in the Everglades. Researchers at the University of Florida built plush decoys with heaters, motors, and sensors to mimic real rabbits, a favorite python snack. The goal was to lure the snakes out of hiding without using live animals. If visuals and heat don't work, they'll even add rabbit scent next. The bigger part of the plan is to control the python problem, including GPS-tagged scout studies, thermal imaging, and public hunts. You going on a public python hunt?
I don't think so. No, I don't do snakes. But I like watching them. They're pretty fun. Like, some of those people are crazy. I was thinking, like, are we gonna like put an M80 in it and like let the python eat it and then blow it up? I didn't know. But just luring them out. And
luring them out. I guess I don't know what they're doing with them when they're. But if they're gonna control the population, they got to get rid of them, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Shoes,
belts. We always called them when you were looking for your golf ball in the woods. You always say, "Watch out for the no shoulders."
Yep. I
ain't got no shoulders. My golf ball was never in the woods though, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Here's another kind of interesting story out of Nevada, Lake Tahoe region. A 375-pound black bear was drowning beneath the Talek Bridge in South Lake Tahoe, sedated, thrashing and sinking fast. The crowd stood helpless on the shore until a man from Russia, Ivan Stepanov, ripped off his shoes and dove in. Just diving into Lake Tahoe is tough. Lake Tahoe is tough enough because it's so cold. The bear had wandered into a neighborhood, been tranquilized by wildlife officers, and stumbled into the frigid lake. Now, with the sedative kicking in, each stroke grew weaker. Ivan swam hard, wrapping his arms around his neck, holding his head above water, whispering in Russian to keep it calm. Apparently, bears like Russian to keep him calm. Inch by inch, he guided the bear towards shore, where officers tagged its ear, checked its vitals, and later released it into the Sierra Nevada wilderness. And why he risked his life, Ivan just shrugged. In my country, we say a man's strength is measured by who he chooses to protect, even if it has claws. Thought that was a pretty cool story. And they got pictures of the guy bringing the bear out of the lake. I mean, I think that lake stays, like 50 degrees year round. That's probably not exactly, but it's super cold. Just jumping in the lake is something in its own.
Well, just thank goodness there was a Russian around, because those dudes are built different.
Yeah, they are certainly
like
built
if there
different.
were any other person from any other country around, we're just watching the bear. Like,
yep.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Pulling out our cameras and videoing it.
Right.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt. All right, this is an interesting one. I'm going to end with this one. Legendary tweets by Texas A&M police during games. Let's see if I can read them because they're small. Public intoxication, PA 102, unable to walk, given opportunity to call sober friend, but located himself on his phone, arrested. Public intoxication ×2, responded to a report of intoxicated subject in men's restroom near section 334, 335, called sober friend arrived intoxicated, arrested. Public intoxicated Aggie Park contacted subject while eating a sandwich with a water jug of whiskey. BAC was .337. Released to 337 is insane. Released to EMS. Public intoxication level 7 concessions. Subject asking people to buy him alcohol. Arrested. One more time, tell everybody what you do and how their children can benefit from what you do.
Yeah, Clutch Athletics, strength and agility training, focusing in on youth. Like I said, we have a in-person program located inside Panama City CrossFit every Tuesday and Thursday. Got some homeschool sessions and after-school sessions, so you can check out my Facebook page, Instagram page for those times. You can message me. I can get with you on those. If you come to our in-person, if you mention Inside Drive, we'll give you $20 off your first month.
There you go.
And then, like I said, the online course, especially, man, if you're a coach and you're looking to kind of get some conditioning for your whole team, you can sign up for our online course. It's quick video tutorials on the workouts and how to kind of set them up and how to go through every movement. And then you can put your team through them, to build that team bonding, stuff like that. Or if you're just an individual looking for that level up in whatever the sport might be, we can definitely help with that, whether it's in person or through our online program.
And what with Code Holiday?
Holiday, you can get online program, Code Holiday. I think it's all caps, but it's on both pages, my Instagram and Facebook. We'll give you 1 month free.
There you go. Don't miss out on these great specials with Clutch Athletics. If you're looking to take your kid to the next level, one more quick shout out. University Academy, the girls basketball team is playing a game tonight against Bozeman. It is 8th grade night. And one more quick shout out to Aubree Davis. She was our American Charlie's Athlete of the Week. Get out to American Charlie's. They got great specials. Always give discounts for first responders. You can reserve private areas. Lots of TVs in there for college football, NFL football, whatever it may be. American Charlie's has got that good old American cooking. No show coming up this Thursday. That's why I called this episode 2627. You will see a re-air of this on Thursday, so we got something going on. And then next week, I will not be doing shows with the Thanksgiving break. I will be out of town. We will resume the normal repertoire on Tuesday, December 2nd. Hard to believe it's December 2nd is in 2 weeks. Christmas is literally right around the corner. As always, we appreciate everybody who tuned in. We appreciate everybody who tunes in after the fact to support the followers. And, of course, this will be posted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you consume your podcast. The Inside Drive podcast will be there. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving and a great rest of these couple weeks. We'll see you guys on the 2nd.